A very good evening to all of you. How are you all? I hope I am visible and audible. Just let me know in the chat box. Right, so I am Nikita and I welcome you to Rodha. This is the fifth session of editorial analysis, or as I like to call it, editorial comprehension, because we understand an article, an essay, an excerpt of it in detail. Right, that's our idea behind these sessions, so that you are exposed to diverse genres, diverse sources, material that is slightly difficult. Right, I try not to bring very easy essays in this series, and the idea is that it makes your comprehension of RC passages ultimately smoother, right? So just quickly let me know that I am visible and audible. And today's session, I am really excited about today's session. It's about art. Hi Alok, hi Sam, hello Aman. Perfect, thank you Aman. So usually, students, whenever they encounter an art related RC passage or an art related article, right in the beginning, they somehow shut off. Right? They feel, oh, it must be difficult. Oh, I'm not a very artistic person. I don't have much knowledge about it. So that's the usual thought process. And I want you to actually change this thinking. That's my idea behind today's RC passage. In your CAT 2024, you saw an RC that was based on craft. It was about the history of crafts people, right? As we should call them, craftsmen, we call them usually. So it was about that. So today's article, today's excerpt, I have picked it up from Financial Times, which was a source of your RC passages in CAT 2024. However, it is not related to finance, economics, business. It is rather related to art. Okay. So let's begin. Okay. So yesterday, in the previous editorial analysis session, I talked to you about the news sources of CAT RCs, right? From 2020 to 2024, I told you that, okay, these are the sources, these are the, newspapers, news websites from which your CAT RCs have appeared. So that's why, today I have brought Financial Times. Okay, these we have covered in our previous editorial sessions. The New York Times, the Guardian, the Washington Post, these, right? And these I'll cover in the coming sessions. Okay, another interesting bit of information for you, piece of data for you. What have been the e-magazine or magazine sources of CAT RCs in these previous 5 years? So I have compiled a list for you again. And why I have put them in green? Because again, we have covered them in your RC passages, right? So that's why I've put these in green. The Economist, Smithsonian, The Conversation, Eon, इसके हमने RC passages किए हैं अपने RC series में, right? And again, I'll cover the remaining magazines in our coming sessions. So these are your remaining magazines: Public Books, Foreign Policy, Prospect Magazine, Scientific American, New Scientist, The Atlantic, and The Spectator. Right, so I just wanted to give you this list so that you also know, okay, where to read from, what have been the sources, right? Okay, then with this information, let us see an editorial from Financial Times, but it's from its life and arts section. Okay, the word count not much, 552 words, the usual length of your RC passage. Okay, all right then. So usually I don't show you the headline, the subheadline, or any excerpts that are highlighted. But for this, I decided to do that because I wanted to make this process as easy for you as possible, right? So for the next few minutes, for the next minutes that you're with me, I want you to be alert, awake, okay, no laziness. And I want you to understand the words, understand the paragraphs, and most importantly, understand the gist of what we are reading. Even though we may not know the nitty-gritties, the details, we are not artists, we are not art collectors. So it's absolutely fine if we don't understand the very, each and every word. If we don't understand, it's fine. ठीक है, चलो फिर. तो this is the headline: Those Passions by T.J. Clark, exhilarating essays on painting and politics. So this gives me an idea that the essay, the article is going to talk about Avriti, yes, you can access at least, a lot of these magazines are free, and even when they're not, you can access 1 to 2 articles. And there are so many of them that even if you read 1 to 2 articles per magazine, even that will do. Okay. Yes. So, what is this article going to talk about? It's going to be about a collection of essays that this person T.J. Clark has written. And what is the name of this collection? Those Passions. Those Passions by T.J. Clark. Exhilarating, right? Something that's very exciting. Exciting essays on painting and politics. So it's going to be about art as well as about politics. Okay, now read the subheadline here. The influential critic's belief in art's subversive power in a world of money and hype is vital for our times. So, what is subversive? Yes, the influential critic's belief in art's subversive power. तो subversive का meaning कौन बताएगा मुझे? It's important to understand this article. Yes. Subversive. Subvert. See this. Sub and the verb from which it comes is subvert. Okay. So what does subvert means? Vert means to turn. Sub means upside down here. Right. So something that turns something upside down. So to subvert is to defy an established authority, an established institution. That is called subversion. So subversion is the noun, subvert is the verb, subversive is the adjective. So something that is subversive is very rebellious. It defies the established authorities of the time. Okay. All right then. So it's important to know the meanings of such words. Again, subversion is again a word that you'll encounter a lot in newspapers. Whenever there is a military coup, right, it's called a subversive act. Whenever there is dissent, a lot of dissent from public about something or from a section, then that is also called a subversive act, right? So ये critique जो है, जो T.J. Clark है, right, this person is an influential critique. ये किसको critique करता होगा? Art को करता होगा, politics को करता होगा, right? And उसका belief है कि art में एक subversive power है to challenge the established institutions. एंड वो कह रहा है कि अभी जो हमारा वर्ल्ड है दैट्स अ वर्ल्ड ऑफ मनी एंड हाइप. सो इज दिस पर्सन पॉजिटिव अबाउट टुडेज वर्ल्ड, अ वर्ल्ड ऑफ मनी एंड हाइप? द मोमेंट आई यूज द वर्ड हाइप, it's clear, it should be clear to my reader that, oh, I'm not really very happy about today's world, a world of money and excessive publicity, promotion. Perfect. So, and it says that this power of art, this subversive power is essential to our times, to our current times, right? A world of money and hype. His questioning voice carries the book. This is something that was highlighted, so I put it here. His questioning voice, so he's questioning things, carries the book, creating a mood of contemplative suspense. So this person is really introspecting, ruminating, thinking about things at length, and that creates a sort of a suspense, right? Very reflective this person is being. काफ़ी सोच रहा है उसके बारे में, उसको contemplate कर रहा है, and उससे एक suspense create हो रहा है, like a psychological thriller, as if we are in the mind of this person and we don't know what's going to happen next. So this is the cover of this book, Those Passions on Art and Politics. A very vibrant cover, you can see, very artistic as well. Okay, so let's begin reading this. I hope this title, the headline and the subheadline, they have given you some idea as to what we are going to talk about. So the genre of today's article is art and politics, right? ओके देन. सो मैंने फर्स्ट पैराग्राफ बिल्कुल अलग से रख दिया है, ओपनिंग पैराग्राफ, क्योंकि हमें आराम से पढ़ना है, राइट? वी हैव टू रीड इट रिलेटिवली स्लोली, रिलेटिवली मोर केयरफुली, एंड इट्स अ वेरी इजी पैराग्राफ. सो रीड इट एंड टेल मी व्हाट यू अंडरस्टूड. यस. Right. Let me know when you finish. You have to do that at whenever you finish reading every slide, okay, any slide, you have to give me a thumbs up so that I know. Perfect. Okay. So there are two important ideas I could say in the first paragraph, and it's a very easy read. The first paragraph, just this word wrought and purportedly, I think they would have posed some challenge for some of you, right? But वो भी उतना important नहीं है पूरा समझने के लिए. तो easy beginning. One of art's mysteries is that joyous painting, happy painting, is often wrought, often created from tormented souls. It comes from art mystery is yes, Sam, that's one important idea here, that it's a mystery that how sad people produce happy paintings. And then the author gives examples also, like Van Gogh, like Jackson Pollock. While the allegedly जिन लोगों को cheerful समझा जाता है, जैसे कि Jeff Koons, they produce demoralizing trash, right? So the author is calling his work demoralizing trash. The optimism of pessimists is the most interesting kind. जो पेसिमिस्ट्स होते हैं ना, जो काफ़ी होपफुल अदरवाइज नहीं होते फ्यूचर के लिए, बट उनका भी कुछ तो ऑप्टिमिज्म होता है उनमें भी, वो वाला ऑप्टिमिज्म सबसे इंटरेस्टिंग काइंड का ऑप्टिमिज्म होता है. दैट्स व्हाट टीजे क्लार्क इज टेलिंग अस, द ऑथर ऑफ दिस बुक, दोज पैशंस. एंड व्हाट डज द ऑथर टेल अस, दैट व्हाट डज दिस बुक डील विद? इट्स एन एसे कलेक्शन समिंग अप अ लाइफ टाइम थिंकिंग अबाउट पेंटिंग एंड पॉलिटिक्स. ये हमें हेडलाइन, सब हेडलाइन से भी पता चल गया था. एंड हाउ modern art, this is a very important idea, how modern art has responded to the danger of modern life. Okay, so these two are important ideas, right? जो आपने first sentence भी बोला था, the first sentence is also essentially saying this only, the optimism of pessimists. Yes, sad people producing happy paintings. So modern art has responded to the danger of modern life. So in case, let's say you didn't notice this in the sub-headline, that the author is not really very happy with the present world, you now notice it again, right? Modern art ने respond किया है to the danger of modern life, right? यानी modern life में कुछ dangers हैं जिसको modern art address करती है. Okay, this is the first paragraph, absolutely. Okay, now I'll show you some works. So this is a work by Van Gogh. It's called Cafe Terrace at Night. And if you look at it, how does it make you feel? Yes. Yes, Alok, that's correct. So a very vibrant painting. Yeah, it's the colors are so vibrant. And although it is the time of the time that is painted here is night, yet it's not gloomy, right? We can see stars in the sky. Okay, so this was one of the first paintings that Van Gogh drew, where he showed this starry sky, and then that became a popular feature of his paintings, leading him to paint Starry Night, in case some of you have seen it. Right, very calm, happy vibe. This is actually a cafe in France, and it has been now renamed to Cafe Van Gogh. Okay, so see, Van Gogh, he was a tormented soul. He suffered from mental health problems throughout his life. In fact, he didn't sell a single painting during his lifetime. It was only after his death that he became popular. He shot himself because of, again, mental health reasons. Now look at this. Jackson Pollock, this is his painting called Convergence. So even though कुछ ड्रॉ नहीं करा है सच, एज इन कोई फिगर्स नहीं ड्रॉ करी हैं, जब हम फिगर्स ड्रॉ करते हैं उसको हम बोलते हैं रिप्रेजेंटेशनल आर्ट, क्योंकि हम कुछ रिप्रेजेंट कर रहे हैं उसमें, राइट? तो इसमें कुछ रिप्रेजेंट नहीं हुआ है, कोई फिगर नहीं ड्रॉ करी है, बट फिर भी कलर्स का सी द स्प्लैश ऑफ कलर्स दैट वी सी हियर इज अगेन ब्राइट, राइट? It's again vibrant. And Jackson Pollock again was a painter who suffered from alcoholism throughout his life. Okay, so unhappy perhaps, tormented perhaps, but producing joyous work. And now look at this work by Jeff Koons. So Jeff Koons produces sculptures also, installations also. वो खाली visual paintings नहीं बनाता है, right? तो ये उसका work है. So Ravi has a question, an interesting question. What is this painting trying to say? So this painting, since you've asked this, let me just quickly explain this in detail. Abstract, my pen tab is acting up a bit, so sorry for my handwriting. This is a work that comes under what we call abstract expressionism. ये लिखने की कोशिश करी है मैंने, right? So abstract मतलब जब आप कुछ draw particular figures नहीं करें, representational art नहीं draw करें, abstract, right? That is what you see here, right? अगर किसी बच्चे से पूछे तो उसको लगेगा किसी ने बस ऐसे घुचड़ पुचड़ कर दिया, right? और expressionism is मेरी inner feelings का expression. Right. So this is an abstract expressionist painting. So Ravi, it's absolutely up to you to interpret it how you want it. किसी को इसमें कुछ दिखेगा, किसी को कुछ दिखेगा. Right. The painter has simply expressed his or her feelings here. Right. Okay. And now look at this by Jeff Koons. It's called Play-Doh. So basically after a clay dough, it's a word play. वो clay dough के उस पे उसने उसका नाम रख दिया Play-Doh. ठीक है, तो अब look at what the writer said, that Jeff Koons produces demoralizing trash. So you may not agree with it. That's the beauty of art. किसी को ये बहुत अच्छा लग सकता है, it's very playful, right? Children would really love it. But किसी को ये trash लग भी सकता है. Play-Doh by Jeff Koons. Right? Okay, so the first paragraph is clear to us. We have read the first paragraph. Now let's go to the second paragraph. Read this. The second paragraph. Read? छोटा सा पैराग्राफ है. So I put the first paragraph again here so that you can connect the second paragraph with the first paragraph. Clark is applauding liberty guiding the people. Whenever something is in quotes, so it's either something that someone else has said or it's a title. So here it's a title. Liberty guiding the people. Delacroix's bare-breasted woman. So we are talking about a painting now. Okay. So absolutely correct, Sam. You've inferred it correctly. So Clark is applauding liberty guiding the people. Delacroix is the painter. Delacroix's bare-breasted woman in a Phrygian freedom cap, leading men of all classes over the barricades. Again, इसमें अब Phrygian नहीं भी समझ में आया तो भी you have understood what is happening in the painting. There's a woman who is wearing a freedom cap and she's leading men of all classes, rich and poor, over barricades. Barricades are barriers, right? So it's symbolizing freedom, right? Quite literally. दिखा रहे हैं कि वो barricades cross कर रहे हैं. This image of revolutionary comradeship, camaraderie, friendship. सारे classes के लोग एक साथ cross कर रहे हैं. And a woman is guiding them. So this image of revolutionary comradeship, including between the sexes, men, women, was painted by the French master. अब अगर यहाँ तक भी किसी को नहीं समझ में आया कि ये पेंटिंग है तो अब यहाँ पर आ जाना चाहिए that it was painted by the French master who was himself a desolate reactionary. Again, let's say मुझे reactionary का meaning नहीं पता पर desolate, do we know the meaning? Desolate. Who is a desolate person? सो ट्राई टू रिलेट वर्ड्स. आइसोलेट मतलब किसी को अलग कर देना. डेसोलेट मतलब जो अलग अलग रहता है, राइट? सो somebody who's gloomy and they don't like to mix up. Absolutely. Somebody who's sad, they don't like to mix up with other people. Such people are desolate. So this person was a desolate person, but see the kind of painting that he made, a very celebratory painting, right? There's a woman who's guiding people across barriers and people of all classes. So it again emphasizes the author's point that joyous painting comes from tormented souls, or the optimism of pessimist is the most interesting. ठीक है? तो ये बस उसका एग्जाम्पल है जो पॉइंट आपके फर्स्ट पैराग्राफ में ऑलरेडी स्टेटेड था. ठीक है? सो डोंट गेट बॉग डाउन. एकदम घबरा मत जाओ, अरे फ्रिजियन क्या होता है, अरे रिएक्शनरी कौन है. दैट्स यूजुअली द रिएक्शन ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स व्हेन दे कम अक्रॉस आर्ट बेस्ड आरसीज. बट उतने डिफिकल्ट नहीं होते जितना हम बना देते हैं उसको. ठीक है, मॉडरेट लेवल के होते हैं, आई अग्री. आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू डिल्यूड यू इनटू थिंकिंग कि बहुत ईजी होते हैं, बट इतने डिफिकल्ट नहीं होते. ऑलराइट. सो फ्रिजियन एक्चुअली रेफर्स टू कैप स्टाइल, राइट? फ्रिजियन कैप ना ऐसे होती है. अब मैंने ये पेंटिंग नहीं लगाई है, राइट, बिकॉज इट शोड अ बेयर ब्रेस्टेड वुमन एंड मैं कंट्रोवर्सी में नहीं आना चाहती इन द करेंट पॉलिटिकल एटमोसफियर, राइट? तो ऐसे कैप होती है वो. इट सिम्बलाइजेस फ्रीडम. ओके, इट्स यूजुअली एसोसिएटेड विद रेवोल्यूशंस. एंड रिएक्शनरी इज अ पर्सन हु इज अ वेरी ट्रेडिशनल पर्सन, कंजर्वेटिव पर्सन, जिसके पॉलिटिकल बिलीव्स जो हैं वो कंजर्वेटिव होते हैं, ट्रेडिशनल होते हैं. That kind of a person is called a reactionary. So एक desolate reactionary ने एक freedom related painting बनाई. Okay. All right then. So the first two paragraphs were easy, not very difficult, in case we just focused on grasping the gist. Okay. तो अब आते हैं next two paragraphs. Read and tell me what you understand. Again, focus on grasping the gist. So Clark is the author, T.J. Clark, of Those Passions. Right? Have you finished this? Should I explain? Or you tell me what are these two paragraphs saying? Okay, all right. Done. Which revolution are we talking about here? Although again, it's not essential to grasping the gist of these two paragraphs. I'm just asking you for your knowledge. It is a further example of optimistic pessimist, and moreover it's kind of relating. So that one was an example in the sense that हम painters की बात कर रहे थे, right? यहाँ पर हम पेंटर्स की बात करें तो ये एग्जाम्पल था एक पेंटिंग का. अब हम इसी आइडिया को रिलेट कर रहे हैं इस बुक के ऑथर के साथ भी. सी दिस इज सॉर्ट ऑफ अ बुक रिव्यू what we are reading. It's a review of this book called Those Passions which has been written by TJ Clark. राइट. तो अब हम कह रहे हैं जो बुक का भी ऑथर है ना, जिसने उन पेंटर्स के बारे में लिखा है, वो भी ऑप्टिमिस्टिक पेसिमिस्ट है. ओके. द इम्पॉर्टेंस ऑफ पेंटिंग्स एंड कनेक्टिंग इट विद पॉलिटिक्स, दैट्स अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट आइडिया आलोक. गुड. He was an optimistic pessimist. I mean, Clark is an optimistic pessimist. Yes, he's still alive. वो भी एक important idea. Absolutely. तो इसमें ये वाला is the key idea. Optimistic pessimist also describes Clark. And then the, जो आर्टिकल का आपका राइटर है वो आपको बताया कि वो कैसे ऑप्टिमिस्टिक पेसिमिस्ट है. ये एक्सप्लेनेशन है उसका, ये इलैबोरेशन है. ठीक है. और absolutely correct that art and politics are deeply intertwined, they can't avoid each other. ये एक important key idea है इस पैराग्राफ का. Okay. All right. So now because here our focus is on a deep understanding. अगर हम एग्जाम रूम में हैं तो हमें ये समझ में आ गया, ठीक है, इसका थोड़ा सा आइडिया लग गया, थोड़ा सा आइडिया इसका भी लगाना है, ऐसा नहीं है बिल्कुल समझ में ना आए आगे वाला. राइट. दिस इज द की आइडिया, दिस इज एन एक्सप्लेनेशन ऑफ दैट आइडिया. राइट. एंड Clark has this belief that art and politics can't avoid one another, they are deeply intertwined. Right. And that is why he has, in the past also he has written a book. This is not his first book. In the past he wrote this book called The Painting of Modern Life, in which he placed painting in the social context. कि paintings are very deeply related to the society in which they are painted. So he did that in a previous book where he related painting to social context. So that means ये person बहुत पहले से believe करता है कि art और politics deeply intertwined है. राइट. उस टाइम का पॉलिटिक्स, उस टाइम का सोसाइटी डीपली अफेक्ट करता है कि कैसी आर्ट क्रिएट हो रही है. एंड वाइस वर्सा ऑल्सो आर्ट भी इम्पैक्ट करेगी. ओके. लेट्स नाउ अंडरस्टैंड द डीपर थिंग्स हियर. मॉडर्निटी क्या है, मार्क्सिस्ट क्या होता है. राइट. इन केस सम ऑफ अस डोंट नो दिस. Okay. So Marxism, a political ideology. So a knowledge of basic and popular political ideologies like Marxism, capitalism, socialism, and how Marxism is related to communism. This is important for you, right? So that when you get a passage related to these issues, these ideologies, you are able to attempt it more smoothly. So Marxists, these people were on the leftist spectrum. I explained to you what leftism was. It believes in social justice, it believes in removing inequalities, it believes in change. And Marxists, this ideology is propounded by Karl Marx. Marx बिलीव करता था कि ये जो चेंज आएगा ना सोसाइटी में, ये रेवोल्यूशन से ही आएगा. द वर्कर्स विल हैव टू स्टेज अ रेवोल्यूशन अगेंस्ट द ओनर्स ऑफ गुड्स. राइट. तो बिजनेस पर्सनस के अगेंस्ट जो भी वर्कर्स हैं, एम्प्लॉयज़ हैं, उनको रेवोल्यूशन करना पड़ेगा. सो नाउ दिस पर्सन इज 81 year old. तो मतलब काफ़ी टाइम से है. राइट. 81 year old. सो देयर वॉज अ टाइम व्हेन कम्युनिस्ट आइडियोलॉजी, मार्क्सिस्ट आइडियोलॉजी वॉज वेरी पॉपुलर इन द वर्ल्ड. आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट व्हेन USSR वॉज देयर. राइट. जब सोवियत यूनियन हुआ करता था, जिसे हम USSR बोलते थे. ठीक है. चाइना में भी कम्युनिज्म था, और इनफैक्ट ईस्टर्न यूरोप भी कम्युनिज्म फॉलो करता था. तो एक टाइम था जब वो पॉपुलर था. ठीक है. और लगता था कि हाँ पूरे वर्ल्ड में रेवोल्यूशन हो जाएगा, दिस रेवोल्यूशन ऑफ वर्कर्स अगेंस्ट द ओनर्स. बट अल्टीमेटली कम्युनिज्म कोलैप्स्ड. अब आप देखो मोस्ट ऑफ द कंट्रीज अराउंड यू जो कि कम्युनिज्म, जो क्लेम भी करती हैं कि वो कम्युनिस्ट हैं, वो भी एक्चुअली में कम्युनिस्ट नहीं है. सो चाइना क्लेम्स दैट इट इज़ कम्युनिस्ट, बट इट्स एक्चुअली नॉट. ओके. इफ यू सी it is kind of government controlled capitalism that is operating there. Right. So this guy belongs to the time when Marxism, when communism was popular. Then he watched as it collapsed. The revolution failed to happen. It didn't happen. He is of course upset about it, that it's dying, the ideology of Marxism. Yet see, now again वो भी दुखी है, sad है, tormented है. Yet shows through rapt engagement how paintings bring wisdom, endurance, humor, hope. Yet ये जो बुक है ये बताती है हमें कि कैसे पेंटिंग्स होप लेकर आती हैं, विजडम लेकर आती हैं. सो ऑप्टिमिस्टिक पेसिमिस्ट डिस्क्राइब्स क्लार्क. Okay. All right, Vishnu. Anything that I say in Hindi, I promise you, I also tend to repeat it in English so that nobody misses out on anything. Um, how revolution failed, but painting. Okay, all right. Supports monarchy. Marxism. No. Yes, Van Gogh said this, Alok. Okay, so I hope so far things are clear to you. We've read what, three paragraphs? In the first one, we talked about how the optimism of pessimists is the most interesting kind because it's from tormented souls that joyous paintings emerge. We gave an example of this, right? And then we also said that the author of the book that we are discussing in this article is also an optimistic pessimist, a former Marxist art historian who has seen the revolution fail but still shows how paintings give us hope. Now, his belief that politics was modernity's religion. Who will tell me what this means? It's a very interesting statement to make. Politics was modernity's religion. Modernity. So, modernity refers to the time when, let's say, urbanization, industrial revolution, these things happened, right? So, it started somewhere in the 18th century, late 18th century, and continued even into the 20th century. So, this time is called modernity. Okay, so the social changes that happened, the economic changes that happened, for instance, capitalism became popular, इस time को we call modernity. ठीक है, so politics was modernity's religion. Now before modernity, before this time, before industrial revolution happened, before something called enlightenment happened in Europe. Yeah, now this is your homework, you will find this out. What was enlightenment? it's it happened in Europe. So before this time, religion occupied the central place in private as well as public life. So it was religion, it was, and in the West, Christianity, which used to make very important decisions regarding even the governance of the country. Okay, politics was not that popular. It was religion that was the central in people's lives. So what we are saying is that politics was modernity's religion. Politics then replaced the role that religion was playing, and it now occupies a central role in people's lives. Okay, so politics was modernity's religion. That's the meaning. I hope now it is clear. So, when religion used to occupy a central role, a central place in the governance of society, painters, who employed painters? The church. Okay, the church employed painters. So that's why you see churches decorated with such beautiful paintings, old churches. So, and that's why it's saying that because earlier religion used to be intertwined with art. पहले churches employ करते थे painters को. अब क्या हुआ, पॉलिटिक्स ने वो रोल ऑक्यूपाई कर लिया. तो पहले जैसे रिलीजन एंड आर्ट वर डीपली entwined with each other, that art used to be very religious. If you look at western art of the time that I'm talking about, modernity से पहले वाला time, it used to be so religious, so many paintings of Jesus, right? So once politics kind of replaced that central role, art and politics now became entwined. Art and politics could not avoid one another, right? So having this background that okay, earlier religion was important, earlier a lot of art used to be religious art, then politics replaced it, so art and politics became connected. Having this background will help you navigate this more easily. Okay, so this has shaped, so his belief that art and politics are deeply connected has shaped how we look at pictures, how museums stage them. So his belief has actually influenced, that's why he's an influential critic, if you remember from the subheadline. This belief of his has actually shaped how people look at paintings. They no longer look at them as something that's neutral. Paintings are political. Okay, they are making a political statement. In fact, museums also stage them. Museums also organize sections in this way so that the politics of the time comes out of paintings. That in this era, this particular political ideology was popular, prominent, etc. All right. So that's how influential this person is. And so To give an example of this, that what his contribution has been, the author of this article says, in 1984 he pulled art history out of the ivory tower and onto the streets. What does this mean? To pull something out of the ivory tower and onto the streets. To Okay, absolutely, Avriti. Absolutely correct. Ivory tower refers to, these privileged, secluded places. So, for instance, when I say, the ivory tower of academia, what I mean to say is that professors, the academic world, they live in their own world, in their own bubble, and they're very far away from all the practicalities of the world. They don't know what is happening in the real world. Academics just write their own research papers, unaware of the realities of the world. So that is ivory tower, a high secluded lofty point, okay, unaware of the practicalities of the world. So he did it. He pulled art history, which used to be a very elite area of investigation, out of the ivory tower and brought it to the common people. Okay, so this book of his, it read a particular painter. It actually was about a particular painter and how he painted through the ills and thrills of Second Empire Paris. Okay, now let's say I don't know what Second Empire Paris is. Fine. Through the ills and thrills of a rampant capitalist society. This much I can understand, that this book talked about a painter who painted throughout this period, okay, a particular period in history, and this period had a capitalist society. तो हमें सब कुछ पता होना ज़रूरी नहीं है. वी डोंट नीड टू नो एवरीथिंग, राइट? व्हाट सेकेंड एम्पायर पेरिस इज, दैट्स फाइन इफ यू डोंट नो इट, बट येस, अ पेंटर हु ड्रू in a capitalist society, okay, through that period, that's what the painting of modern life talked about. Okay, but for your knowledge, Second Empire Paris, so French Revolution, there were 3 French revolutions that happened, not one. First, second, third. So Second Empire Paris, the one that emerged after the Second Revolution. Okay. So he wrote about this painter who painted in this time, and it says mirroring ours. So this rampant capitalist society mirrors our today's capitalist society. And rampant is something that is widespread, especially something that you don't like. So again, you can see the author's ideology comes here. The author is a Marxist, so he's calling this society a rampant capitalist society, okay, which is mirroring ours. Without crucially sacrificing attention to minute details of surface and brushstroke, the book opened painting to social context. That art actually is embedded in its context, social, political, it's not neutral. So far so good? Everybody is with me? Any confusion? कोई बोर हो रहा है? Yes. बहुत डिफिकल्ट लग रहा है किसी को? Oh, perfect. Let's then go to the next slide. Again, in the next slide also, क्या कोशिश रहेगी? What should be our effort? Grasp the gist. Okay. Do not get trapped into, let's say, words like Second Empire Paris या जो भी words होंगे वहाँ पे niche से, उसमें trap नहीं होना है. Okay. All right. It influenced every curator since, just sorry, I'm interrupting you a bit. You have to relate it to the previous paragraph. What influenced every curator since? The belief that politics was modernity's religion and art and politics could not avoid one another. So relate. Yes, now you can read. Read? Okay. So, sorry. It influenced every curator since, when I say that, I'm talking about this. Okay. Sorry, I earlier told you this. But since 1984, so basically, it influenced this book was quite influential. It influenced every curator since, right? So, this book that talked about a painting through a capitalist, a painter's journey through a capitalist society, right? And it put painting into social context that influenced every curator since. Okay, who are art curators? Who are art curators? Curators are collectors. So basically, curation is collecting from various sources, and museums. Okay, art museums. Yes, absolutely. People who maintain museums, people who are in charge of which painting comes into which museum, into their museum, sorry, वो उस म्यूजियम के क्यूरेटर होते हैं. Okay, they are the curators of that particular museum. It influenced every curator since. Okay, so this book, which put painting into social context, which showed us that art and politics are connected. And 40 years on, so 40 years since 1984, 40 years on later, Clark acknowledges the pitfalls. So Clark acknowledges the problems with this approach. The problems with how curators are collecting paintings influenced by this book. तो क्या प्रॉब्लम्स हो सकती हैं? ओके, सो नाउ दिस पार्ट इज अ लिटिल टेक्निकल, आई अग्री. ये थोड़ा टेक्निकल है, यहाँ पे थोड़ा जार्गन भी है, लाइक टेट. इफ इन केस आई डोंट नो व्हाट टेट इज, इट दिस विल अपीयर वेरी ऑब्सक्योर टू मी. टेट, टेक नोट, किसको टेक नोट करने के लिए बोल रहे हो, राइट? सो टेट गैलरी, these are popular art galleries, right? And Tate Britain, for instance, is quite famous. So it's actually telling this art gallery to take note. Okay, take note of what? So the writer Clark, ये वाला जो अब क्लार्क है, ये बोल रहा है कुछ प्रॉब्लम्स हैं. देर आर सर्टेन प्रॉब्लम्स associated with the approach of curating paintings like that. When you collect paintings based on the social context, when you arrange them based on the social context, what is the problem? Today's left-wing critique is humorless, condescending, predictable. So see, in the previous slide, we saw the words Marxist, capitalist. We also established that our guy Clark was a former Marxist art historian. That means he brings that perspective, right, to the table. So he was quite influential, right? So that means what museums started doing, they started again categorizing art also like that. And because they were influenced by his ideas, they started criticizing perhaps the capitalist ideology, okay, through paintings. Kaise? How this will happen? So for example, if I show paintings that are quite left-wing in nature, okay, and that are highlighting the problems of a capitalist society. Okay, so for example, if I show a painting that is showing a lot of goods, let's say Gucci bag, Prada bag, right? A lot of goods. So that's a problem of capitalist society, too much consumerism. So let's say this is a painting here. So this painting will serve as a critique of capitalism. It will be called a critique from the left wing. That, the leftist side is critiquing this consumerism of capitalism. Does this make sense? Yes. That what Clark is saying is that today the critique that is presented by left wing towards capitalism, towards the right wing, it's not great, it's very humorless, it's very condescending. They assume a moral superiority. right? They look down upon capitalism, and it's very predictable. They are just taking a moral high ground. Oh, social inequality, how can you tolerate that? All people are equal, so equality should be the norm. If you are against it, you're not a good person, you're not a good human being. So that sort of critique is prevalent, that it is very humorless, it's very condescending, it's very predictable. It's one more you know layering of race, class, and gender. So what museums like Tate are doing today, they are categorizing paintings according to, okay, this deals with the issue of race and how maybe capitalism fosters racism. This deals with the issue of class, maybe how capitalism creates hierarchies. This deals with the issue of gender. So that is how they are categorizing it, and he feels that it's very humorless, it's very condescending. These are complex issues. Does that make sense? So it's a very, I really like this paragraph. It's a very nuanced perspective, because this is a problem that I have observed, that whenever we criticize capitalism or we criticize right wing, we automatically assume a moral high ground. अरे इक्वालिटी में बिलीव नहीं करते, यू डोंट बिलीव इन इक्वालिटी, यू डोंट बिलीव इन जेंडर इक्वालिटी, ओ माई गॉड यू आर सच अ सेक्सिस्ट पर्सन. सो I'm not saying these things are wrong, right? Or sexism is right. I'm not saying that. But moral high ground assume karke, that becomes very condescending. Okay. All right then. So the takeaway in this was this, I think, sentence. That's it. अगर ये वाला sentence समझ आ गया हमें, I'm just erasing everything. If we understand this one sentence, today's left-wing critique, and by left-wing critique, I mean left-wing critiquing the right-wing. Left-wing critiquing the right-wing, it's very humorless, condescending, predictable. So, those passions is the best answer to this problem, to this pitfall. This book is the best answer to this pitfall. That means this book now is going to present a good left-wing critique. Okay, this book will present a nuanced left-wing critique. By left-wing critique, I mean the left critiquing the right. Okay, or the left critiquing other ideologies. So those passions are the best answer. A marathon of art history, a marathon, basically this person is walking you through art history through a political lens. We are looking at art through a political lens. It is subtle, so it is nuanced, as I say. It is revelatory. It reveals a lot of things to you. It's enlightening, and it is broad ranging. It's very comprehensive, spanning multiple painters. So see, these are names of painters, Bosch and Jericho, right? To Europe's slipperiest modernists, to even the modernist painters, the recent painters, the contemporary painters. Each a prophet of dazzling discontent. Each a predictor of discontent. Because modern society has its problems. There's discontent, and these guys are predicting it. These people, these painters are predicting it. Okay, now there's a question here, but how do we know that the left wing refers to the left side? No. The left side is not capitalism. So, see this. We discussed this. Left, right, and center. Left wing, right wing, and the center. Right, so left wing, usually, Marxist ideology, Karl Marx's views, what we call Marxist. Some people, its extension is called communism, so communist ideology. These are left-wing ideologies. Why? Because they believe in social equality, they believe in equity, they believe in change, they believe in revolution. Right, on the other hand, so capitalism is called a rightist. It is in the nature of a rightist ideology because the right believes in minimum interference in economic affairs. The right says don't interfere in economic affairs, but it interferes in the social affairs, right? It basically wants social control, social order, traditional values in the public life, right? Social order, traditionalism, conservatism. So people who are conservative politically, they are on the right. Okay, and because of this minimum interference in economic affairs, capitalism is associated with the right. Okay, so this left wing critique is going to be a critique from this angle. It's going to be a critique of this ideology, perhaps. And because we saw these words, a rampant capitalist society, we talked about its ills, so we know that this person is probably going to criticize it. Also, we talked about our modern society in the subheadline, our world of money and hype. So, money is related to capitalism, right? And hype is promotion, consumerism, that is hype. Okay, so I hope this is clear, right? So this person talks about many painters. So for example, one of them is Jericho. Jericho painted a painting called the Raft of the Medusa. Okay, and Clark says, ये सब Clark के quotes हैं. All of these are quotes that are present in those passions. So Clark said that, Jericho, when he painted the Raft of the Medusa, he was dreaming the shipwreck of a politics he despised. So now I know that this painting is related to shipwreck. I think the Raft also kind of indicated that. So it's related to a shipwreck, and it says it's not just a shipwreck. Don't just look at it from what is just shown to you. This person, through this painting, is trying to imagine the shipwreck of a politics that this person despised, hated. Okay, so dreaming the shipwreck, the end of a politics he despised. So if you go into the depth of such articles, they are layered, there's meaning to every sentence, right? But for, again, in the exam hall, we have to understand the gist. Right now, because we are doing deep reading, that's why I'm explaining all of this to you. Okay? So I'll just show you this painting. And then we talk about Europe's slipperiest modernists. Slipperiest, unpredictable. These people whom you can't categorize easily. So from these guys to these people who are Europe's slipperiest modernists, and all of them are somehow, showing, predicting dissatisfaction, discontent, okay, through their work. Right? Because they are modernists. They're talking about the modern society. And I wanted to highlight this, that this is an important sentence, that those passions is the best answer that it's an answer to this problem that left-wing critique today is humorless, condescending, and predictable. That means here in this book we'll find a left-wing critique, but it will not be humorless, condescending, or predictable. It will be a good left-wing critique. So that's why I have highlighted it. How do they even write with such complexity? So again, usually, people who write such book reviews, they are art critiques themselves. Okay, people who go to museums, go to art galleries, observe art. You need so much knowledge about art, no, to write this piece. So they have this sort of an inclination, mindset, and of course they are well-read people. They, through practice, they have developed their language. Okay, so it's a product of years of practice. So here's this painting called the Raft of the Medusa. It was painted by this guy Theodore Jericho. And you can see this painting. Of course, not a happy painting. Yes. And I invite you to read more about this. So this is a raft, and it's actually, so there was this ship called Medusa. Now this ship kind of hit a reef and it could not move. So people had to be evacuated, but it was not carrying enough lifeboats. That's why some people had to be transferred to a raft. Now these boats were pulling this raft, but they realized that that was making them slow. So they cut the ropes off. So these 150 people were abandoned on a raft. They struggled for 13 days. Only 15 of them survived. This is an actual historical incident. Okay. And they had to resort to things like cannibalism in order to survive. So the society, I think this happened in this happened in France, and the monarchy at that time was called the Bourbon monarchy. Okay, वो biscuit wala Bourbon monarchy. they came under immense criticism for how they dealt with this incident. They did not even send anybody for rescue. Okay, so this corruption of the Bourbon monarchy is what Jericho wanted to highlight. That they didn't even bother to save people, and it also and this person also wanted to highlight कि इसमें fault captain of the ship का था. This ship, the captain who was steering the ship was not very experienced. Okay, and they were selected just because they were close to the monarchy, right? Political connections. So through this painting, Jericho wanted to highlight corruption, nepotism, and this inhumanity of this tragedy, right? So it's a political painting. Okay, so I hope we haven't got carried away by the raft of the Medusa, although I think we should be. But अभी वापस आते हैं हम अपने आर्टिकल पे. This is what we read. This was our last paragraph. That those passions is quite comprehensive. It covers the views of a number of painters, including the modernists who show discontent. Okay, read this paragraph. So again, I know that this can feel a lot, this paragraph, right? There are a number of terms here. But you have to realize what's the function of this paragraph. If I ask you this, what is the purpose of this paragraph? No, Avriti. So I am a full-time employee of Rodha. I'll take YT sessions as well as your batch sessions. Don't worry about it. It's just that I have just joined. I'm getting to know the system. So soon I'll start teaching the batches, right? So don't worry. Okay. So what is the purpose of this paragraph? I have highlighted a sentence, in fact, a part of a sentence in the previous paragraph. I presented these two paragraphs together to you so that you're able to make a connection. These are all just examples of these slipperiest modernists who were each trying to exhibit their discontent, trying to predict discontent in the modern age. These are all those people. Like, so for instance, Gustav Colib, whatever, however we pronounce this person, Gustav, then Gerard Richter and James Ensor. Okay, all examples. So again, if you just grasp the gist that they are trying to show us something, they're trying to show us what is wrong with the modern society, right? A loss of bearings. A loss of bearings is when you're pretty confused, when you're at a loss of very disoriented. That is when you experience a loss of bearings. Masquerades, yes, fake people, fake things. So a feature of the modern society according to the writer of the article. Post-war panic. So we are talking about the modern age. I told you it began like when industrial revolution happened, right? Then two world wars happened. So post-war panic. Corporate glossiness. How in the corporate sector, there's this tendency to polish things and to become detached. That's a very corporate feature, no? That you're very detached, you're professional. Professional means that you're very prim and proper and you're detached from things. You are not supposed to be very emotional. So these are the aspects that these paintings are bringing out. So even if we understand such these words, post-war panic, glossiness, corporate glossiness, that's fine. Okay, that will just help us to grasp. Okay, these painters were trying to show this discontent associated with modern life, modern age. ठीक है, तो अब पर फिर भी हम तो अभी डीप रीडिंग कर रहे हैं, राइट? वी आर डूइंग डीप रीडिंग, सो आई विल जस्ट एक्सप्लेन दिस टू यू वेरी ब्रीफली. The glistening cobbled blankness of Gustav dash dash Paris street a rainy day gives a thrill or a feeling of being disoriented. So this painting shows the disorientedness that is associated with modern life, how we all feel confused at times, at a loss at times. Okay, blankness, that means his painting is going to have blank space. Let me just show it to you. Here's the painting, Paris street, a rainy day. Okay, and you can see there's this blankness. It's shiny, but it's blank, right? Not a very happy picture. थोड़ा gloomy सा ही लग रहा है, right? The rainy day appears a bit gloomy. So that's what the author is talking about, the blankness. Okay, glistening, shining, cobbled, the stones, the cobblestones, glistening cobbled blankness of this painting gives a feeling, this sudden feeling that you are very disoriented. James Ensor's masquerades and crowds. Now this painting was there in the article itself. Okay, I have just picked it from there. The intrigue by James Ensor. Masquerades, it looks like, no, these people are wearing masks, facades, and it appears like a social gathering. Yes, so in social gatherings, a lot of times we are not our honest selves. Yes, not our genuine selves. We are all are kaise hain aap, right? We are all very sanskari at times. So the masquerades of the crowds, the masks that we wear when we are with people. And the writer thinks that this is a feature of urban materialism, the urban society where materialistic things matter. Okay, their facades, their masks become more common. Underbelly is the lowly areas of a society, the criminal areas of a society. Okay, and they can also refer to the bad aspects of a society. Here that is what it means. Okay, so haunted by the unreal. Whenever you so this author, this painter is also trying to show a place, a crowd that is very unreal, fake, deathly. बहुत अच्छी फीलिंग नहीं आ रही इनको देख के, right? Deathly. In fact, if you look at this baby, it appears like a doll, as if it doesn't have any life in it, a very lifeless doll. So deathly, disguised, they all appear disguised, predatory. Yes, so the way she's holding, this person is holding the other person. Zombiness, yes, very good. This numbness that you can see in this painting. So I think a good way to understand art related articles is that you search for the paintings that they talk about. That will help you to comprehend a lot, because you sense a lot when you see a painting. Then Gerard Richter tightrope walks between post-war grey panic and corporate glossiness. So Gerard Richter was a painter, and I'm saying that he very carefully walks between these two feelings, trying to depict post-war panic. Post-war panic, basically Gerard Richter was a German painter. So after World War II, Germany was not in a very good condition. Of course, there was so much destruction brought about by Hitler and then brought about by bombings of World War II, right? Then it was divided into East Germany, West Germany, right? East Germany was ruled by, the ideology prevalent there was communism. The West Germany was the ideology prevalent was capitalism. So politically it was a very tumultuous time, right? Economically it was a very bad time for them. So post-war panic. Moreover, because it wasn't clear what kind of political ideology prevailed there. Because in a lot of political high positions, in Germany, who was there? Which people were actually in these high ranking positions? The ex Nazis, people who earlier held Nazi beliefs. So there was a lot of uncertainty as to what kind of politics we are moving towards. A lot of radical groups emerged at this time, both left wing and right wing. तो बहुत सारे ना radical groups आ गए, violent groups. So these right wings were called neo Nazis. These left wings, they associated themselves with communism. So one of them was Red Army faction, RAF. Okay, so this guy Gerhard Richter, he showed through 15 paintings, these are called the Baader-Meinhof paintings. Through these paintings he showed the death of this RAF, the death of 3 key people in this RAF. That's what he showed. So it's an out and out political painting. ये तो बिल्कुल ही political है ना, right? So that's what he showed. And how did he show it? I'm going to show you those images. They may be triggering for some of you. It shows a dead person, so you can choose to avoid it, right, if you don't want to see it. So here it comes. So these are the paintings. I mean, 3 of 15 that he painted. This is a terror. I mean, they called these people terrorists. Of course, they were a militant group. So this person was shot dead. This is a shot taken by the police when they captured the person. And this is the picture of a funeral, painting of a funeral. Now, if you see, these are all gray. That's one feature. And they seem to have been glossed over. They're not very clear. There's a sort of a shine, glossiness. So that's what, Clark is saying, corporate glossiness, so that we're able to distance ourselves from them. But it also shows a sort of post-war uncertainty, right? Tumult, turmoil. Okay, so that's what this person, Gerard, is trying to do. He's trying to capture the pity and fear of the time. And Clark says, so the author of Those Passions, he says that, these pictures are so real that these are the only pictures of people done in our time that the future will care to look at. They are so symbolic of our uncertain times. And he says that, his paintings, that because of his paintings, I feel that painting really can make uncertainty into something beautiful. So somehow Clark is saying that, okay, these are not good pictures in the sense that they represent death, but there's a beauty to them. He says the uncertainty that they show, they capture it beautifully. They turn uncertainty to beauty. Okay. All right. So these two were the challenging slides. We are now past the challenge. Now the slide that comes is easy. And this was what we have already read. This is the last slide. Easy slide है ये, बहुत difficult नहीं है. Let's see what you say about it. Read it. I've even highlighted the important stuff for you. Yes. Read? Okay. Done? Perfect. So such self-reflexive twist. So this article is very connected. Each paragraph is very connected to the other. So which self-reflexive twists? So this is a very self-reflexive, self-reflection, introspective. This is a very introspective statement, no? That painting can, for reasons I am unable to understand, make its uncertainty into something beautiful. It turns uncertainty into beauty. Such statements, such self-reflexive twists, where TJ Clark dives into doubt, they season every page. They are present on every page. They are scattered on every page. Flattering us. We feel like we are eavesdropping into his mind, as if we are entering his mind and we are listening to his thoughts, his thinking aloud. I reach a familiar impasse, a place where no progress is possible, a stalemate. I reach a familiar impasse. I feel like I can't express it beyond this. I have no words. Again, I suspend an answer. I can't provide a definitive answer to this. So that questioning voice carries the book, creating a mood of contemplative suspense like a psychological thriller. We've already read this sentence. Clark the detective interrogates each work, his response to it, how he feels about it. The paradox, now I'm not going to explain this because there's a question on this, just one question after this. Okay, actually his lilting, his his lyrical hesitations, I have no words. They come as close as words can to painting's ambiguity. A painting is a matter of interpretation, right? It's a very ambiguous work. You interpret it in some way, I interpret it in the other. It's not going to give you something very definitive, right? It has this ability that it is mute, it does not speak, but it's still very expressive. It still says a lot, right? For instance, these paintings that I've just shown you, they are clearly making some statements, right? Some of them very highly political statements. And that is why it is subversive. It has the power to challenge established institutions. So now we have come full circle. हमने subversive से start किया था. We have come back to subversive. Right? So again, an important idea. So there was this painter who said that, I make a profession of mute things. मैंने mute things को बनाना अपनी profession बना लिया. Throughout, Clark shows how paintings are many layered performances. A painting is not just an object, it's an act, it's an action, it's a performance. And it is deeply tied to politics of war, modernity, consumerism, and spectacle. Shoshabazi, tamasha, spectacle. Which is there, it's present in every era, it's present in every regime. Right? So this was our article. So I knew this would take some time, but I really wanted to take something related to art. I haven't explained this sentence to you because I want to ask you this question. So, this question and then you're free. Tell me the answer. Okay, I've got 2 responses. What about others? All right. So very diverse responses I'm getting. Focus on the word paradox. मतलब कुछ contradiction होगा. Yes, there must be some contradiction. So in our RC classes, we have learned that extreme words is something that you should be suspicious about. Okay. Others? Come on, quick. I want more responses. So I'm happy that nobody has marked C. Inherently impossible. Yes. Describing paintings is inherently impossible. That's not what the author is saying. The author is saying, that when you try to write about paintings, you are not able to describe exactly what they are talking about. Okay. You just tend to circle around that because probably they have such layers of meaning, layers of performances related to this, related to the next paragraph. They have ambiguity, they have layers of performances. That is why writing can't probably aptly describe them. Okay, so you're right, the answer is B. Those who've marked B, absolutely, that is the paradox from Modini, making it more incomprehensible is what I would say. A says writing about paintings often obscures their meaning. It makes their meaning more complex, more hidden. It hides their meaning or makes it complex. No, right? That's not what the author is saying, that it makes it more obscure, more hidden. Art critics are often unable to detach their personal biases. See, that is not the point of discussion here. You have to associate it with the passage, yes? Here we are not talking about personal biases of any sort. Right, we are just saying that it's so difficult to describe paintings because of their ambiguity, because of how multi-layered they are, the complexity of meaning that they have. So, B. Okay, and inaccurate again is not what we are trying to say. Okay, so Tilokini, two reasons. Personal biases is not what we are discussing, is not the point because of which I am saying that writing about them is not able to capture it. And secondly, I'm not saying that the descriptions are inaccurate. It's not about accuracy. It's that you're not able to zero in on what it is exactly trying to say. You are just able to circle around it at the most, because some things cannot be expressed in words. The meanings are so deep that they can't be expressed in words. I have no words. I suspend an answer. Okay, that's why B, Bangalore. Why not A? Okay. Writing about paintings does not complicate or make their meaning more hidden, more complex, right? Also, it's not about the visual experience of the image, right? We are not saying that, you can't write about a visual thing. It's not just about the visual experience. It's about what it represents. It's about the meaning that it holds. Visual is just sensory. हम यहाँ पर meaning की बात कर रहे हैं. Okay? I hope this is clear, Ruchir. Some further resources, Arts and Letters Daily, I've already suggested to you. It's a good collection of articles, essays. The Margin Alien is a blog. You can explore it if you want. I love it. That's why I recommended it. It has a number of articles on art and literature. You could visit an art gallery. That will actually expand your perspective. That helped me, so it may help you as well. And there's this movie that I really like about art called Midnight in Paris. You can consider watching it. Okay. So I'm sorry I took up so much of your time. This is it from my side. I hope you enjoyed the session. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on Monday again at 4 p.m. Okay. Bye. Have a good evening. Thank you so much.